Your accomplishments and research are widely published. Is there a favorite?
Jerry Andrew once said to me, he said, you know, you've published more than you've read. Obviously, for me, my very favorite is the actual letter to the editor in the New England Journal of Medicine on the first laparoscopic. That obviously is a career highlight. But there are other favorites. There are papers of whimsy. There's the paper that Roshan Patel, we wrote together, and he was first author on quote unquote gravity works and how to prevent ureteral stones from migrating cephalad by just putting the patient 40 degrees head up, and you don't need retropulsion devices and all this other stuff. You just need to believe in gravity. That's one of my favorite papers of all time. Pursuit of the Renal Mass, that got published in the New England Journal of Medicine with Dick Williams, is one of my favorite papers of all time, not because of the impact factor of it, but because Dick Williams, who is another one of my mentors, and became my very best friend. I was a junior resident and read a paper by a very prominent individual in urology with regard to renal masses, and I thought it was absolute total drivel. And I then went to the library, did a lot of research, and I wrote this stinging letter to the editor, pointing out that this article by this well-known urologist who was chairman of a department was absolute baloney. And I was a second-year resident. You know, I was so wet behind the ears that I was lucky I didn't drown. And Dick, to his credit, read this article, read this letter. He said, well, this is good. He said, but you can't submit this. I go, what do you mean I can't submit this? You know, he goes, two things. Number one, you should take all this work and make it an article. And number two, when you come up for your boards, who do you think your oral examiner is going to be? Payback is a sweet thing. And so I said, okay. And so because of that, we wrote this article on pursuit of the renal mass and submitted it to the New England Journal of Medicine. It got rejected. Dick looked at me and I said, Dick, here's the letter they've rejected. He read the letter. He went, no, you don't understand. They actually want this article. I said, Dick, right here it says, this article is a piece of poop. He said, no, you don't understand. They actually want this article. He said, they're working on a review series for the New England Journal of Medicine. You should submit this as a review. That's what they're asking you to do. And so I went, fine. And so I redid the article, rewrote it, submitted it, and it got accepted. And we got a check for $100 because they're actually paying for these review articles. And so I was first author, Dick was second author, and Dr. Fraley, my mentor and chair at the University of Minnesota, was third author. So I get this check for $100. I go, okay, it should be divided equally. So I went home and I took a penny and I divided the penny into thirds with a hacksaw. And I wrote a check for $33, 33, and then I taped the third of a cent to the check. And I gave it to Dick, and I gave one to Dr. Fraley. About 2 days later, the check to Dr. Fraley came back with a little note that he wrote on it. He said, you need this more than I do. But, you know, those are favorite papers, but they're favorite papers because of whimsy and because of, in the last case, taking something that looked like it was a negative and flipping it into a positive. Powerful lesson, tremendously powerful lesson that no is not acceptable. No is not an answer. No is an invitation. It is the first step on the creative.